My name is Bruce Lyon. I'm a professor at the University of California in Santa Cruz, and I work on water bird social behavior. When I heard there was a colony of Caspian Terns at Elkhorn Slough, I jumped at the opportunity to try and get up close and personal, obtain some videos, and just watch their social behavior. These sorts of bird cities are great places to watch lots of birds interacting. Problem is they nest out on islands in the water, and I had to get me and my equipment out to the island without scaring the birds. And to do that, I put together a floating blind. That's a little camouflage tent that sits atop a floating platform on an inner tube, a truck inner tube. And I didn't invent the design. It's been used by other biologists for a long time. And it's a framework of PVC piping, and there's a little seat inside, and with flippers one can even float in deep water. And so that's how I approached the colony of birds. And it's a great way to float up to a variety of water birds without being seen. It's kind of like being invisible. I hadn't worked with Caspian terns before, so when I work with a new species, I always approach very cautiously just to see how they're accepting the blind. And like other species of terns I've worked with, these birds were oblivious to the blind right from the start. And so I just kept drifting closer and closer until, without really resting, I was about 5 feet from a number of Caspian terns, and it was truly like being invisible. I was able to watch for a couple of hours on several different days their social behavior, interactions between parents. There's lots of squabbling and tenderness towards chicks, so it was a chance to really, in a snapshot or two in time, look into the social lives of these very interesting birds. These colonies are very noisy places and lots of raucous activity, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that's how the parents find which chicks are actually their own chicks. The chicks can move around, as you can see in the video, and they don't stick to a nest, so parents have to be able to find their own chicks, which is pretty unusual for birds. And the way they do that is by recognizing the voice. So the chicks make a lot of noise, and the parents call out so that the chicks can find them. The second thing is these bird cities are a huge bonanza of fish. There's fish coming in all the time, and these birds will steal food whenever they can. So if a tern's sitting around its nest and it's able to steal incoming fish from another bird, it'll do so. It makes sense to do it. And so a lot of the squabbling is over trying to steal fish or trying to protect your fish from being stolen. And parents often have to be rather sneaky in how they come into the colony without having their fish taken. And my sense from watching these birds is that this is particularly a problem when they've got a big, juicy fish. If you've got a small fish, the birds aren't so interested. But if someone comes in with a very large fish, then they're probably more vulnerable to having that fish stolen. These birds nest in high densities. They're not defending true territories. They're just nest sites, but they squabble and fight a great deal. They use their beaks as weapons, and that's what the jabbering with the bills is about. It's basically, this is our nest site, stay away from it. When the birds return to their nests, and often when they're sitting, they'll stand up as well. What they do is they put their beak under their egg and they roll it. And there's a bird that they'll often roll the egg to make sure that it has a different position. And it's been well shown that if birds don't do that, the membranes stick and the eggs don't hatch as well. So these birds make sure that by rolling the egg around every hour or so, they increase the chances that a chick will actually hatch from that egg. These birds catch fish. They're fish eaters. They catch them by spotting them in the water and then diving down with their beaks first, catching the fish. And so it was really entertaining watching the birds fly back to the colonies with fish for their chicks. And the chicks very quickly swallow the fish when they get a chance, but occasionally the parents would not bring in the appropriate size fish for their chick, and the chicks would have a lot of trouble trying to choke down this fish that was almost as big as itself, kind of like a human trying to swallow a grapefruit whole. I guess the parents had forgotten how small their chicks really were. One of the nice things about these colonies is there's often a good spread. So while some birds have babies and are well on in breeding, other birds are just getting going. And so in a few visits, I was able to actually see the entire reproductive season of sorts of behavior, including birds like these who were just getting going and were courting and looking for a nest site. And Caspian terns are fairly monogamous, and both parents help raise the chicks. So the courtship involves both members of the pair courting each other, unlike other birds where the male does all the displaying. And so there's a lot of mutual displaying and bowing and choice of nest site. So these birds are looking for a place to lay eggs, and possibly they're young birds prospecting for the next year. It's unclear whether they actually had enough time to nest, but they're going through the motions. Many of the birds in the colony were on eggs and had clutch sizes of 1. Clutch size is the number of eggs they lay in their nest in any one breeding season. I was particularly fond of this family. These are 2 siblings from the same nest, probably 1 day apart in age, but as happens with many water birds, there's a dominant and a subordinate chick, and the dominant chick gets all the fish. And it was pretty chaotic when the parents brought back food. There was a lot of running to see who could get to the parent first. And this is often a strategy. Having a runt in the litter is a strategy to deal with unpredictable food supply. If there's enough food, everybody makes it. If there's not enough food, it's the runt that often goes. And so it's not pretty, but it works. I suspect in this case, both of these cute little fellows made it. The little guy was getting lots of food and was very energetic. And so this is probably a Caspian Tern family that ended up with 2 nice happy chicks at the end of the year.
You can help protect Caspian terns in their habitat by becoming a member of the Elkhorn Slough Foundation. For more information, please visit elkhornslough.org.